Yeah.
There's space to give out 250 at the museum yesterday.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. The time is now 5:35 PM. We'll call this meeting to order. This is a joint special meeting of the Harlingen City Commission and the Harlingen EDC. The time is now 5:35 PM, and we will open the meeting for the City Commission.
So it's also 5:35, we have a quorum, so the Harlingen EDC is called to order.
And we do also have a quorum for the Harlingen City Commission, as all commissioners are present, and Commissioner Mike Mesmer is appearing via Zoom. At this time, I'll ask for everyone to please rise as Commissioner Pettis leads us in our invocation.
Dear Jesus, we thank you for this wonderful day that we're having today. We ask you to continue blessing our city and helping those that are in need right now after suffering some terrible losses. We ask that you continue to guide us and provide the best resources available to the people who are depending on us in the city. We ask all this in the name of Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Now the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank the Harlingen EDC and its staff, and of course Beverly and Orlando for thinking quick on your feet and putting this meeting together so that way we can address these real issues in our community. So thank you both. At this time, do we have Mark? There you go. Conflict of interest, please.
Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a commission member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with a conflict of interest cannot participate in the discussion or vote on the agenda item. Are there any known conflicts of interest to disclose at the time?
None.
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 Mike? None.
Moving on.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a commission member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with a conflict of interest cannot participate in the discussion nor vote on the agenda item. Are there any known conflicts of interest to disclose at this time?
None.
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 Thank you.
This time, we will open up item 3 of the City Commission Citizen Communication. Melinda, do we have anyone signed up?
Not for city commission, but we do have some for on site of HEDC that Beverly will be bringing.
Okay, wonderful. At this time, we'll close item 3 of the Citizen Communication, having no one signed up at the City Commission. And we'll pass that over.
We will open up the citizen communication to the EDC.
We have a total of 7 or 6, starting with Jesus Peña.
Great.
If you could get up.
And you can stand up right there and it's catching you.
Hello, my name is Jesus Peña. I'm speaking on behalf of properties 309, 311, and 321, Serge Martin Lounge. The rain started on Thursday night. Ended up going on Van Buren Street about 3.5, 4 feet. I've got video pictures. Inside the location, the building, there was maybe a foot and a half of water that crept into the buildings. Due to that, we lost furniture, appliances, coolers, fridges, ice makers. I mean, it's a mess. So if y'all can help me in any way, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
What facility was that?
Serge Martin Lounge,
Okay.
309,
Yeah.
311, 321. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is, forgive me if I pronounce the name wrong, Carmina.
Hi, Carmina Morstehi. I'm also 309, 311, and 321. I just wanted to say that we've been here since 2019, serving the community. Our place is really nice, I think. And we've always tried to do whatever we can to help the community. And now we want the city to please help us with this horrific flood. I mean, it was, when I was videotaping, because Jesse was there at night and I went by in the morning, it was disaster. mud, grass, everywhere. The furniture, the equipment, the outside. We had El Monte sign right on the street in front. There was a dead cat, a dead possum, you name it, all over the place. So we really just really need help right now, from you guys. Whatever you can do to help us so that we can, you know, get back on our feet again. Thank you.
Next, we have Fred Uribe.
Good evening, my name is Fred Uribe. I am the owner of Don Goyito Restaurant in Harlingen, Texas, 417 West Van Buren. And, you know, we got a lot of damage as well. My prep table went out, my deep fryer, one commercial refrigerator, one long freezer where I keep all my meat, and the bathroom doors. This time around, I remember in June of 2019, we had the same 12 to 14 inches of rain inside the restaurant. And back then, I had just opened like 3 weeks and I lost everything. So this time when I knew that there was rain coming, I picked up everything except, of course, you know, all the heavy stuff that I wasn't able to, and that's what, you know, messed up this time around. So anything that you guys could help us out, you know, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Did you lose all the meat as well? Or were you
No,
able to
we were able, the
get
following
that
day,
out?
we were able to transport everything to different other refrigerators.
Next, we have Maria Angulo.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Ángulo. Estoy hablando de parte de tenemos dos negocios. Yo soy dueño del edificio, mi hermano es el dueño del negocio, tengo mi otro hermano dueño del otro negocio, viene siendo la Tejana Bar en García's Lounge, that is in Commerce. Los dos edificios se inundaron, tuvieron muchos daños. En el edificio 209 South C está enseguida del apartamento casita que vive aquí el señor aquí, nuestro vecino. Él sabe cómo estuvo la situación. Hubieron muchas pérdidas en la Tejana Bar. El techo está bien mal, está cayendo el agua y se está metiendo toda el agua. También los baños. También se dañó el food table, ¿cómo se llama? Los coolers donde están las bebidas y el jukebox. En la otra barra, what happened in the other bar?
Social lunch, we have pure water go inside, and I had carpet. I had to get somebody to clean and everything, like because and the two box messed up too, my music box. And I got pictures and video from that people. If you wanna see them, I can show it to you.
What facility is this, sir?
Excuse me?
What business?
Garcia's Lounge on Commerce. Yes.
En la Tejana
535
Bar.
North.
That's on
Thank you.
535 North Commerce, and the other one's at 209 South C Street.
And we haven't heard from nobody. No hemos escuchado de nadie una asistencia o ayuda. Es como que todo está bien, pero no está bien, porque nosotros a ellos les está pues dañando a que el negocio no siga corriendo como estaba corriendo. Entonces necesitamos por favor que si nos pueden ayudar y que le ayuden a otras personas, porque las otras personas piensan que no hay ayuda, porque no hemos escuchado nada, ni de FEMA, ni de nadie. So, por favor, toquen su corazón y ayuden a la comunidad de Harlingen. Gracias.
Les pido que se queden aquí por esto. La junta es para ver si le pueden ayudar a todos que han sufrido por lo que sucedió en estos días.
Okay.
¿Cómo supo usted de esta cita?
Por medio de el
fue?
varón aquí, sí. Y yo llamé a mis hermanos y llamé a otras personas que también han sufrido, simplemente que eran nomás media hora, ya no podían, estaba muy tarde ya para ellos venir. So,
será muy importante también porque como mucha gente no está en las redes sociales, que van a poder hablar con los demás negocios para darle información. Como usted no supo, pero aquí nuestro amigo le dijo también a usted si les puede decir a los demás. Es que sí se pasa, ¿verdad?
gracias.
Me imagino que sí, pero okay.
Le
Gracias.
agradecemos mucho. Gracias.
Next, we have Jesus Flores.
Hello, I represent Management Commercial Property. We have addresses, 1305 North 77 Sunshine Strip, 324 North Commerce, 320 North Commerce, 322 North Commerce. We got 6 tenants that were affected, which were Alicia's Mexican Restaurant, the Salon Suites, so 2 locations, Diamond Blue Events, the Card Shop, which he came over, and Gloria's Cake Shop. All those facilities, we had 18 inches, we lost, appliances, trim work has to be redone, sheetrock pulled out. Of course, we helped with the cleanup effort, has been ongoing, we bought dehumidifiers, squeegees, mops, you name it, we did it. But I'm more worried, the tenants that were in there, some were just, starting their businesses, and, I don't think they expected that, so it's a tremendous hit to them. And of course, on our side, we did help them at least to be able to open as fast as possible. And any help you guys can muster up to give these tenants and fellow citizens of Harlingen would be greatly appreciated. And of course, we have documentation, videos, whatever y'all may need. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I got caught up in listening. Jorge Garcia.
Yeah, hello, my name is Jorge Garcia. I am the owner of the card shop HDTX, and we're a dying breed. We are a card shop, something you don't see very much because everything's online now. And we're trying to maintain a tradition. Anybody who's collected a card, to go in there, touch, feasibly feel the emotion you get from opening a card, the experience of opening a pack, the excitement you share with your father, the bond that you share with your friends. We're trying to keep that tradition alive by having a business that's already struggling as it is. But we're, going against the grain like I've always done, because I believe that I grew up with it and I want kids in the future to grow up with that local shop, that local feel, that person who's an expert who can guide you in the right direction so you don't get gypped, right? The card shop suffered quite a bit. We had a foot of water. We have displays, we have 16 displays that we have to replace all the bottoms. All the bottom displays have 3 different levels of cards. The whole bottom level of cards, since there was a foot of water, all those cards were destroyed. So we had about $30,000 worth of cards destroyed with this storm. I'm the type of guy that, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful nobody got hurt. I'm grateful that we still have a shop, we still have a business, but we do need help because we're, like I said, it's tough to even maintain the doors open sometimes because it's a dying breed, it's a dying business that we're trying to still keep alive for those kids out there. We do Cards for A's program where we reward the kids for having A's. Every A in a report card, you get a free card. No matter how many times you show me the same report card, I'm gonna give you a card. There's some parents that come with the same report card, every 2 weeks. And I know the report cards don't come out every 2 weeks, they come out every 6 weeks. But we won't say no to anybody, especially not the kids, man. And we wanna continue doing that. We do it with pride, we do it with passion, we love what we do, and we'd like you guys' help. Appreciate you guys.
That's all we had listed, but some new people walked in. Does anybody else wanna speak on something?
Well, more than anything, not so much me, but my tenant Chivy. I own the post office across the Bank of America. We're a subgrade basement. We've never actually got water. The 2019 storm came in. We never actually ever got water whatsoever, but this time we did, and they got about 3 feet water, but more than anything for Chivy Engineering. So couldn't make it. I was like, well, let me go by.
Thank you.
I lost some stuff, but I lost like 6, 8 computers, but it's nothing but Chivy Engineering really did get substantial damage. My damage is no more than like 10, 15 grand, but Chivy was probably in the hundreds.
Thanks, Luis. Does anybody else wanna speak? Okay, there being none, then I'll close the citizen communication.
Item 4 is the the action items, City Commission and the HEDC will discuss, consider, and take any action deemed necessary on items listed in this section, including the adoption of a resolution or an ordinance. 4A is consideration and possible action on a new incentive program called Harlingen Strong Small Business Recovery Grant. And I'll turn it over to the EDC to present.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Commission, Harlingen EDC Board, and members of the public who might not know who I am. My name is Orlando Campos. I am CEO of the Harlingen Economic Development Corporation. So I appreciate all of you being here to listen in on what our boards and City Commission will be considering this evening. We recognized what we are proposing basically is a new grant program that will help address the needs of what happened last week. Last week was a historic flood event here in the community. We received over 21 inches of rain, surpassing previous records that led to severe flooding across the entire city itself. The impacts on Harlingen businesses included extensive property damage, loss of inventory, operational disruptions, financial strain, community, which also impacted basically, or had a tremendous impact on the community itself. We recognize the fact that these floods not only impacted businesses, but residents alike as well. And as much as we wish that we could provide more extensive support to the entire community, we are a 4A Economic Development Corporation that is governed by state laws on how we can utilize funds within the community itself. Over the last few days, we've received a number of photos from different businesses that were impacted. The first slide that you see up there is our photos that were shared with us by Tora Coffee Shop or Tora Coffee in downtown Harlingen. We also received photos from Don Gallito, Alamo Concrete as well. So you can start seeing the impact that the water had on these businesses. It wasn't just structurally, but as you can see from this photo from Innovative Farm and Ranch, it also impacted inventory that was lying low on the ground. These other photos came from downtown Harlingen of a few other businesses that were impacted by the rain and water that seeped into the buildings themselves. And then we also received photos from KK's Closet, which not just received impact from water on the ground, but also was impacted by leaks in the ceiling as well, and Clay Valley Studio. As of today, we know of at the very minimum 80 businesses that were impacted by the storm, but we know that there are many others that exist out there that we still haven't heard from. Now, as a result of the impact that was resulting from the storms, the staff and I have been working hard to determine how we can provide support to local businesses. So basically what we are proposing is a new program called Harlingen Strong Small Business Recovery Grant to help local businesses recover from last week's storms. As much as we would like to make this grant amount limitless, we do have some, unfortunately, financial constraints. So what we'd like to propose is a grant program of $3,000 in assistance to local businesses that experienced losses during this storm. It would be open to all businesses who qualify as a small business per SBA grants. Originally, we were looking at just focusing in on the downtown area, but as we drove around the entire community, we realized that this storm impacted businesses throughout the entire city. So we are making this program available to every city commission district here within the community and those businesses that lie within that area. Basically, any business that lies within the city limit of Harlingen. As part of this program, what we are proposing is a grant program to reimburse businesses that submit receipts for completed work of up to $3,000. For businesses that might be in more dire straits that need cash upfront, we are proposing that we provide grants for the same amount to businesses who submit invoices or contracts for work yet to be completed. But they must show proof of work completed once it's done by July 31st, and/or we will request a reimbursement of these funds. To qualify, a business must be a for-profit business within Harlingen city limits, provide proof of flood damage through photos, insurance claims, or estimates, submit a completed application with the required documents, and staff is currently working on putting together the grant application, which, if approved, will be available by next week. Businesses, as I mentioned earlier, must qualify as a small business per SBA guidelines. And they must employ at least one person. This is a business retention program, so we must demonstrate that we are focusing in on jobs here within the community itself. In terms of some of the eligible expenses that will be covered through this grant program, we are looking at building repairs, ceiling repairs, flooring, walls, electrical, plumbing, interior and exterior restoration, mold remediation and flood prevention upgrades, debris removal and cleanups, replacement of flood damaged equipment as well. These grants cannot be used for items already covered by business or property insurance policies. We want to make sure that businesses aren't double dipping, but that we make this program available to those businesses who may not have any insurance available to them, those businesses that are in most dire straits for support. Ineligible expenses would include work completed before March 27th, before the floods occurred, or after July 31st. We would not cover new construction, major structural additions or renovations that were underway during the flood. Unfortunately, we will not cover security systems, any cosmetic upgrades or routine maintenance projects for businesses operating within residential properties. We would also not fund any sexually oriented businesses or gambling establishments. To apply for the program, we will be setting up an online portal with an application to try and make it as easy as possible for businesses to apply for the program. Once we get a completed online application, it will be sent directly to staff for evaluation. In addition to that, the property owner must get a permission letter if they are a tenant and do not own the building. So they must get a permission letter by the owner of the building. They must show proof of the damage that they experienced during as a result of the storms, which would include photos, estimates, or insurance claims. They must also submit invoices or contracts for work or receipts for completed repairs, a copy of current business tax ID or bill to show that they are a recognized established business here within the state of Texas, and a copy of current business and property insurance policies as well, if they have any. So we will basically leave the program open until we run out of funds, or if there is additional funding that is allocated for this program. The deadline to submit an application for this program would be July 31st, 2025. We recognize the fact that there are many businesses that are working with their insurance company to try and recoup some of those expenses. But if there's an insurance company that denies any claim, they have this option that would be available to them. We would review the applications and provide a response within 10 business days, and funds would be dispersed within 30 days after board approval and after we have a signed agreement by the company itself. So when it comes down to equipment, we need to verify a few additional things to ensure that this equipment did result in damage caused by the floods. They must submit businesses must submit at least one of the following: a signed affidavit stating the equipment was lost or rendered inoperable during the flooding. So the items that we would request would of course be photos of damaged equipment, insurance claim documentation listing the equipment damaged in the property, repair or replacement estimates from a licensed technician or vendor specifying flood related damage, and disposal receipts if the equipment was removed as a result of the flood. So I know that all of you might be thinking, how are we going to fund this? The Harlingen EDC currently has 2 grant programs in existence, which include the Revitalized and Equipment grants. Earlier this year, our board and the City Commission approved budgeting of $220,000 for these 2 programs. Unfortunately, we have only encumbered $55,000, so we have a balance of $165,000 available. So basically what we're asking is to shift a portion of the available funds from these 2 grant programs to help fund this new grant program that we are proposing today. So the amount that would be available initially would be $150,000 that we could utilize for this program. And so, once again, the maximum award per approved application would be $3,000. And if we allocate $150,000 right now, we could very easily serve at least 50 businesses here within the community itself. However, if the need exceeds the amount that is allocated, we would also like to request from the board and the City Commission that we allocate an additional $150,000 to be able to provide more support to additional businesses that might surpass the amount that we can provide help to. So we'd like to open it up to discussions with our board as well as the City Commission on any questions you might have. Staff will follow the will of the board as well as the City Commission moving forward.
I have a question, I have a comment, right? So if we consider approving an additional $150,000, is that $150,000 to serve another 50 businesses? Or is it to up the 3,000 to a little bit more?
It would be to serve an additional 50 businesses. That is the thought.
So on this, Orlando, I have a couple questions. The leaving of the $15,000 for the revitalization grant, I think it'd be best to kind of, if we could incorporate all of the funds. I don't know everybody else's position, but looking at that, you'd be able to cover 5 additional businesses with that amount. And the Revitalize program, I'm a huge fan of, but maybe once we get past this rough patch, we can revisit that. Because I think more people need recovery right now than the facade improvements. So that was one. And then the other, and I think I remember this from the Revitalize Harlingen. Wasn't there already a committee formed?
Yes.
So could we use that committee so we don't further delay approvals instead of having the EDC board to kind of get back together to approve each time?
We can certainly do that if the board is amenable to doing that.
I was also gonna make a comment on that, Mayor, so thank you for bringing that up. I think having that committee has really helped move things along and being able to look over everything that's sent to us from our staff then we present it to the board. It has really facilitated, and I think that's a wonderful idea. Something else that helps, I think, in just hearing the public's comments today, and thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate y'all being here. Everybody's needs are so different. You know, so $3,000 is a start, and I don't want y'all to feel at all discouraged because I know your loss is huge. And you're probably thinking, well, $3,000 isn't gonna get me very far. But I want you to know that our team and our staff at the EDC, all they do is think about y'all and how to get y'all back in business and up and going again. And I know the chamber is the same and they feel strongly. And so I want you to just know and hang tight because we're trying to kind of figure all this out. So we're not saying $3,000 is it. I mean, the committee and the staff and everybody is looking at everything and we're trying to figure out how best to use this money. And so please be patient with us as we figure this out. But we are first and foremost concerned about you and your business and getting y'all back up and going and running again. But I really am for also the idea of having the same committee serve and helping this to help facilitate, move things along more quickly. I think the mayor had a great idea.
And I think it's if the same committee is willing to do the work, it's basically utilizing the same fund, so I don't see any difference. The one thing I will say is though, the funds dispersed within 30 days of board approval, I know it's going to, you know, y'all are all volunteers and we appreciate you so much for the work that you do and the committee putting on extra work in addition to that. But since we are considering giving money up front for those that cannot afford to do the reimbursement, I think 30 days, especially with these small businesses that are really trying to open their doors back up, if we can cut that down to, you know, I don't know what is reasonable and possible.
Maybe we can have a special board meeting to cut it.
Well, we're talking about $3,000, so maybe if the board will authorize the
I think the
subcommittee.
committee, I mean, and yeah, I'm sorry to talk over you, but I think that in this case, I think everybody on the EDC board are professionals, and I'm not sure who's been identified, but I think that I would feel comfortable, I don't know about the everybody else around the table, just delegating, and then those approvals going directly to staff, just to, you know, there's no reason to get.
Continue the process, so I think we need to have the committee and go to the board for it to look at it. And we can do it, we can have a quick special meeting, but so not circumvent a system that we already have in place.
So long as there's no issues with quorum, because then that you might be having meetings every week if that's the case, because people, I know I talked to Beverly about in 2019, you know, that there were not a lot of people taking advantage of the funds available, but I think we're a different Harlingen today, and you're gonna have a lot of people coming to the EDC and asking for this help to try to keep the doors open and to get some kind of assistance. So I don't wanna overburden the board having to meet so regularly, so, I mean, it's y'all's call, but I would feel comfortable if the committee took, since this is kind of an emergency situation, but I'll defer to y'all and Trey.
On the payment, I'll just note, it just has to fall within, it probably will be 2 weeks, only because accounts payable is every 2 weeks. So that's why we typically did 30 days, but we can probably fit it within 15 days.
Okay, yeah, that's why I said whatever's reasonable and possible.
One other thing I think might need to be addressed, Javier and Mayor, is that in the absence of the delegation that you described, Mayor, normally the process would be, any expenditure would be approved by the board and then approved by the city commission. So if we just want to have a process whereby the board approves it and that constitutes final authorization.
That's gonna be my recommendation to the commission.
So basically, the city commission would be delegating the authority for the board to do the expenditure and possibly ratified at a later meeting after it's been approved.
This commission has a lot of work to do, so I think we feel very confident. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the commission, but I don't wanna delay it because it has to go to you. That's why we're having this joint meeting to kind of expedite things. But we can definitely, in taking action, if there's concerns about that, we can.
And is this an action, is this a possible action item for an additional $150,000 now?
It's basically approving the grant program And then also authorizing the CEO to allocate an additional $150,000 should there be a need, and then we would come back to the board once we need to make adjustments to the budget at a later date.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the rest of the board, but I think an additional $150,000 is gonna be needed, because $150,000 is great, but, and serving 50 individuals or businesses is fantastic, but just looking at the great list that you had and all the diligent work that you did, I think it's gonna be a lot more than 50 businesses, and that's just the ones that's come up to you. There's a lot that don't know about any of this, and you have to outreach them and do a lot of grassroots. So I think an additional $150,000 would definitely help a lot more businesses. So I'd be definitely in favor of an additional $150,000. But again, I'm just one.
On that note, I reached out to Maria. Is she here?
Yes,
Where's Maria?
she's right here.
Oh, sorry. I was like, Maria, can you come to the meeting? And so and Jane, Small Business Advisory, I know there's some of y'all here, and some of you also suffered, and so I'm sorry to give you extra work, but I think it's gonna be important for you, Maria, is this, being able to fill out applications might be a difficult task for some small business owners. So I don't know what you're equipped with to, I know you're already doing site visits to help people fill out those applications, and then using the Small Business Advisory Board as ambassadors of this program and sharing that with businesses that have not been identified are gonna be important. So if you could help with that, I think then that will be able to share that, the word with the people that are maybe not on social media, especially language barriers where people that might not know that it's available. The goal, I think, with whatever's allocated from EDC is to, if we are able to exhaust all funds, then obviously we've done our job, right? And if we're not, then fantastic. There's not a need for it, and every business that has the need has accepted or at least applied for this program would be great.
So if approved, we plan to move fairly quickly in marketing this program, not just in English, but also in Spanish. And in fact, if it is approved, we've got a social media post that will go out immediately after.
And just to know that we will have paper copy for applications that that staff could technically deliver to the business. If they can't go online, they can fill it out, and then staff would basically input that into the system, so that'll be available.
I think a QR code might be helpful also.
Orlando, I got a couple questions.
Sure.
So, under the requirements, can the same owner apply for multiple businesses?
That is a good question. With Revitalize Harlingen, they can only apply for one business per year. However, we haven't really put much thought into that. So we can certainly allow one owner who has multiple businesses to apply multiple times, and or we can just leave it as one to make sure that we spread the funding to as many different business owners as possible. But basically, we're open to any suggestions from the.
And then that brings me to that second question is, can they double dip? Can the owner of a building apply for it and then the renter themselves apply for it on what they own?
No.
They can't do that.
Yeah.
I guess one suggestion would be is if the landlord is planning on applying, based on this discussion, it would be one time. Or if they have a tenant that did suffer damage, just allow the tenant to apply for the funding.
Yeah.
Unless they're completely unable to, but that would be my suggestion, is the tenants should be allowed to apply, and that's where it's important to get that property owner.
Simply because it is a business retention program. So at the very minimum, they must have one employee.
So that's a great question. If there's a business with 2 physical locations, are we saying that they can only obtain it for one?
Well, that's the
Is that
that's the discussion that
I
we
like the couple over there that has Tejana Lounge and Garcia's.
I think that's open for discussion, so
Yes.
if y'all wanna allow 2, if y'all wanna allow 1, it's open for discussion.
Yeah,
think we should probably work every business independently, regardless of, they own.
So by address?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every business independently.
Because that's penalizing an owner that has two, three businesses.
I just, yesterday, I was talking to Beverly, we were talking about how many businesses potentially could be impacted. And so I shared on social media just to kind of get an idea, and there's over 100 probably businesses that have commented on it. And I know for one, like Americas has one like physical location and then another separate business, and they work really hard, and then they're separate businesses and they have different employees. And I do agree that the tenant and the land, or the owner of the building should, we should just, it should be one application per address, right?
Exactly, and ideally the tenant should.
So are you going to limit it, or are you just gonna keep it as many businesses as they got? You're gonna get like 2 or 3, or what are you gonna do?
I'm sorry?
Like for the businesses, like the business owners that own multiple businesses, are you gonna leave it like at 2 or 3, or are you gonna just put as many as you want?
I think the discussion was it wouldn't matter how many businesses that they own, it would be based on address.
So like the Harlingen Bazaar has 20 businesses in it, they only get one.
But it's for the location, right?
You could also look at tax ID numbers. I mean, every different business should have a different tax ID number.
Which leads me to just kind of in that thought process of inventory, right? Which I didn't really see here. So if you have, like the bazaar, you've got, how many businesses in there? I don't know.
20, 30?
20, 30.
Yeah, 40.
And so, one business may have X amount of dollars of inventory that they lost, but if we're just doing the one business, then it wouldn't cover the tenants within the business. It would just cover, I would imagine, damage to the structure of the building. So what's the goal here? Is it to help the tenant or to help the owner of the business, of the building? Is there a preference?
Tenant.
Yeah, that's a good question on the bazaar. You have 20, 30 business, 40 in one location. That I hadn't thought of that.
The other one is, what was her name, Alexis Peralta? The one that had the candle shop there off of La Placita. It's one building, but it has multiple, suite A, B, C, D, right? So going back to Trey's question, how do you guys wanna do that? I think Mark has a good idea of the tax ID number, but I don't know.
That's already.
I don't know how many people are gonna have a tax ID number. If you have like a sole proprietorship, do you need a tax ID number?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, every business would have a tax ID number. The more I think about it, maybe it is the, and I mean, that's why.
Every legitimate business has a tax ID.
Okay, so, just thinking about if I have, if maybe there's an owner of a building and they have substantial damage to the building, I don't know how that's going to help the individual tenant that's in there get back on their feet. If it's, $3,000, Linda, you own a business, $3,000 isn't gonna, I don't even wanna get into all of what you've gotta do, but the building itself, that might be difficult to really say, okay, I'm getting this and I'm gonna help you also, tenant of the building with your business. So I think that's kind of a hard one.
Well, how would it work so if let's say let's say the owner, the developer, the owner owns, I'm just saying the bazaar, the whole bazaar. He would request the money, but then you won't be able to double dip on that. So that would cover all of those businesses in that building, is that correct?
Well, as Mark said, we could go and use tax ID number instead of just an address.
What is considered inventory?
That's.
Are we talking about machines that produce something, or are we talking about product?
Right now, it covers equipment damaged. It does not cover inventory. The only question I would have on that is, on some inventory, how do you appraise that or value that unless they had an appraisal? Or had some documentation that attested to that value of the property?
So I'm thinking about, okay, so depending on the business, right, your inventory may be the way that you're able to run your business. So I know someone here mentioned Diamond Moon.
Card shop?
Diamond, I think that's right, Diamond Moon, so their inventory is how they're able to go have an event, right? So it's their linens, their tables, their centerpieces and those things. They might not have equipment because that's not, they provide a service, they're not producing anything, so maybe we need to revisit that and
But how do they show how much that costs? So they would just have to prove
their
that.
invoices from when they purchased the.
Right, they just would have to prove that value if we allow it.
It would be the replacement value of the inventory.
Right.
That's the way you do it. Just like the card shop, they've got lots of inventory. What's the value? It's the replacement value of the cards. That's,
But I mean, as long as I think there's documentation to show that value, where it's not just, it's 30,000, or like, some places sell, slightly used goods or different things like that. How do you put a value on some of that? So it just, that would be the difficult thing.
So I think that you would have to be able to show some kind of invoice from when you purchased the inventory. It's gonna be very difficult for a thrift shop or things of that nature. The card shop, I know I've been in there with the kids, and they'll have one card that's $1,000, and then another one that's $2, right? And I think that those are easily, you can easily verify that online for people that follow and shop in the card shop. So it's hard. But I think that if we don't cover it, then we are going to exclude some businesses. And I know that's not the intention, but maybe figuring out a way to make sure that we're doing it responsibly, but being all inclusive with all types of businesses.
So the other thing I'll mention, just on the landlord situation, so sometimes landlords will not do the work or repairs for their tenants. The tenants are responsible for those repairs. So in some cases, there will be a lot of tenants that will be paying their own repairs. So I just wanted to make sure that we do understand that too. It won't just be up to the property owner to do the actual repair of the physical building. Sometimes it's really on the tenant.
Where we go back to tax side.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this is a situation that we haven't been in a long time. And I know that usually it does go into equipment, but I think this is something that, and it's $3,000. I guarantee you, when these businesses come before the committee, they're gonna have invoices from way more than $3,000. So I really think that, again, I'm just one. I think in this situation, I think whatever the need of the business is having, we need to help them out on the $3,000. Whether it's equipment, supplies, whatever it is, as long as they can document it and they can prove it, then we need to help them out. Because $3,000 is not a lot of money. And I can guarantee you they're gonna be able to show the invoices for those $3,000 easily. Probably they're gonna be showing invoices probably for $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. And like to the Doc's point, I mean, it's gonna be disheartening because all we can do is help them with $3,000, but we don't wanna put any barriers, or we don't wanna put any walls on anything, especially if it's a $3,000 thing. So I think, however we can help these businesses, let's just do it as quickly as we can and make it as easy for them as possible.
So we just need to add to our eligible expenses inventory. And again, with the footnote afterwards, or education requirements as we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then you're gonna make it by tax ID number also?
Yeah, that would be the, yes.
Very. I'm gonna let him word it.
Yeah, he can figure it out.
So is those two things on the motion, an additional $150,000 and then adding the, not just equipment?
Modifying the guidelines as discussed in the meeting.
And then I think the last thing would be for the board to just decide if they will allow the committee to go ahead and approve, and not have to come back in front of the board every month.
Yeah, I think the mayor's right. Let's get the money to the hands of the people as soon as possible.
And can you add on there the adding back in the 15,000 that you were holding back?
So 165,000 plus an additional one.
So on that one, I think it's a good idea, but there's two that's already been completed. Do you know how much that is?
I included all encumbered funds.
No, but there's two that are already completed.
Yeah.
So
We've already funded them.
Oh, you already funded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we've
I thought that was part of the 15,000.
No.
Oh, never mind.
And I will just add also that, I think one of the biggest, challenges that we're all gonna be having is gonna be the grassroots outreach for all the other businesses that aren't here today. I think one of the things that we're gonna be doing, just to let the audience know and let everybody else know that, the 17th of this month, the EDC, the city, the SBA and the chamber are gonna be getting together and inviting a lot of the businesses to come in, so it's not a very formal thing, so that they can ask questions. The main couples, all the partners will be there to answer, to give the latest of what else is available. You know, the changes of, you know, I mean, the mayor was a big champion of getting with the governor and all the mayors so that they declared the Rio Grande Valley as a disaster area. When that happens, a lot of funds become available, but that information, that knowledge and all that wording needs to be reached out to the people that need to hear it. So, you know, we're gonna try to do as many outreach incentives and initiatives as possible. Mr. Chair, thank you.
So just, you know, I'm assuming you're gonna make a motion, so just so I'm clear, we're gonna move the 150 to 165. We're gonna authorize an additional 150. We're gonna allow committees to have authority to disperse the money. Inventory is included and we'll go by tax ID number. Right? Is there anything I left out?
What are the criteria that is typical to our programs? Beverly, that has to do with owing taxes?
Yeah, so typically our guidelines, and we can bring it up, is you have to be current with your taxes. Do we want to make sure that that's in place?
So,
Yeah.
yes.
They have to be in good stead.
Problematic if you're reimbursing a tenant.
I think,
See what I'm saying?
Yep, no, I know.
what if you use the term delinquent? Because the property taxes bill just went out, right? And,
Yeah.
well, that's true, that's true too.
Yeah, and that's why it's not on here, but we wanted to at least bring it up.
So maybe, is this going to be, I think there wasn't any, I guess, consensus on, is this for tenants or it's for business owners?
It's for tax ID.
Tax ID.
So, okay. Sure, but if it's, okay, so if you own the building, but you're not the business owner, then you're not eligible, correct?
So if you're,
I think the person that owns a building and the tenant have to ask each other who's gonna
the
get it.
tenant's required.
So you have a building and you rent it out to Jane. You own the building, Jane has the business, she has a tax ID number, you don't. So Jane is the one that will be applying, not building owner.
If Marley says she pays,
Right.
then that's who gets the payment.
And so going back, and Commissioner Bettis has a good question in regards to insurance, most building owners would have an insurance policy. How are you going to verify that the expense isn't already covered by insurance?
Yeah.
What's that process look
Well,
like?
we're basically requesting a copy of their insurance policies. And then secondly, we're also requesting that they sign an affidavit saying that the items that they're requesting funding for haven't been funded by an insurance policy. And or if we discover that it was in the future, we could request repayment of the grant that was provided.
I think the only insurance policy you have to ask for is flood. Flood's the only one that would cover it.
What do you mean by request?
Unless you have flood insurance,
Time out.
they do not cover.
I think, I'm sorry to interrupt. Going to Reni's point, I think that's fraud at that point. Wouldn't it be?
That would be. And
That
that-
would be
but I haven't
fraud.
put on the
That's a
affidavit, not
crime.
covered.
And that needs to be in the application.
Yeah, not this
Yeah, that we're gonna ask you politely to get our $3,000 back if we find out.
So the other lawyer, Alan, I was gonna say Mark will do this, but Alan, there should be language in terms of what law this violates.
Yes.
And if you do this, then this is the law, and this is the punishment for said crime, and that's what's going to occur, not, we would like for you to pay us
Right, no,
back.
like all of our other performance agreements, it'll have clawback language and, you know,
Yes.
misrepresenting to us that
Right,
you're.
constitutes a crime.
Right, well, it constitutes, for the purpose of clawback, constitutes a default under our agreement.
Right.
Which means we would start by requesting it. If they didn't pay, then we would then pursue our other enforcement mechanisms.
But you can put that it's a crime?
But, right,
Oh, yeah.
what the lawyers are on this side of the
Yeah.
table are saying, yes, that's the typical EDC language, but you also want a disclaimer on there
Yeah.
saying that this is a crime. And it comes with a punishment, just like when you go and you're in in Walmart and it says shoplifting is a crime and you're gonna go to jail, we're watching you, and it has the cost and all that stuff, just a disclaimer.
Sure.
Typical EDC procedures, protocols, those are, go without saying,
Oh, yeah, we can
but.
certainly do that.
We can also draft a letter that we can include for the tenants that have to get property owners, or the landlord's approval, if they're gonna make work to the building, right? We can make sure that on that letter it says that I, the property owner, do not have flood insurance that will cover the cost that the tenant will be making or something like that. If we need to put that crime language, we can do that too.
Yep.
I don't know if that will deter the landlord from checking it and signing it, I don't know, but we can work through those with Alan and, whoever else needs to be involved to make the language correct.
Yeah, I think if we focus on what the business needs in order to operate, we should be okay. When you look at, like Fred here, you need a refrigerator, right? There's big purchases that are gonna be needed, and if we focus on that, then those aren't gonna be covered by the landlord. Those are gonna be covered by the business, itself. So, I'm sure that they'll be able to provide information regarding the loss that fits this, application, cause their loss is going to be more than what it is that we're providing.
I think more than likely, there'll probably be items that won't be covered by any insurance policy as well. So this program will help alleviate some of those additional expenses that weren't expected.
Mhm.
You in agreement? I think so. We ready for a motion?
Well, I think, did you have a question, Dan?
Just verifying and confirming, I know we just hit this, but just so it's in black and white, the money cannot be used for an insurance deductible, correct? That is correct. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Before we move forward, we're looking at $165,000 that you have plus another $50,000.
150.
150.
It's gonna be 315.
315. All right, because the businesses that we already have, that you have identified, that right there is 240,000. There's 80 businesses already. Right? Thank you.
All right, so do we wanna make a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve this as discussed.
Second. I have a motion to approve, I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
We'll entertain a motion on the commission.
I think the motion needs to be not only, depending on how you wanna do this, I think it would be two things. It's a two-step process. One, approve the program. Two, authorize the small committee to be able to make all the shots, distribute the money, and then we come back to ratify. So it's almost what's it called, when you give your authority to another organization, even if it's temporarily.
Proxy.
Sort of to a certain extent like a proxy, a temporary proxy.
Delegate.
Delegate, that's the word, thank you, I'm thinking. So if that's what the commission wants, that's the way I think procedurally would have to go, right, Mark?
Well, you could also authorize a maximum expenditure of up to $315,000 for the Harlingen Strong Small Business Recovery Grant. If you didn't wanna have to approve each $3,000 deal, if the goal is to get the money in the hands to the people as quickly as possible, just approve the maximum expenditure for this program, and that's fine.
So we can delegate that authority
Yes,
solely to them and not.
because the city commission's sole function is to approve the expenditure. It's up to the board to approve how the money goes out. So, yes, you can.
Okay.
I think I think this is great. The only thing I would ask is for the EDC to keep the commission informed on what's going on, how much money has been applied for. Also, we'd like to know, I'm speaking for the whole commission unless anyone
of the
feels
businesses?
differently. Yes, we want a list of the businesses. We also want to know if there's been businesses that have applied and have been denied. So not because there's this appeals process, but just so that way we can kind of look into that and see what the need is and how we can serve those businesses if this isn't for them and what those barriers are. And in addition to that, I would say that our approval is also conditioned upon the grassroots efforts from the small business, from Maria as the employee, and we would ask to really utilize the Small Business Advisory Committee. We had plans for them to do other things and put those things on the back burner and focus on this. I have a little bit of a concern with putting a date of, it's like 90 days out, right? I think, is it 90 days? Where is it? July? It's 120, okay, I thought it was 90 days. I just want to make sure that people, I would imagine that folks that have insurance are going to go to their insurance first, then they're going to find out, and it may be a little bit of a delay. And so you've got it covered, so disregard that. But I think that covers everything. Any other questions? Frank?
No, fine.
Mike, you have any questions?
No, I'll just make a statement that we need to approve this and not micromanage the EDC. Let's just give them permission to get into action.
That's the plan. Okay, you wanna?
Make a motion to authorize the HEDC to allocate and distribute $315,000 for the Harlingen Strong Small Business Recovery Grant.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right.
Thank you.
And that is all we have on the side of the city commission. And we are adjourned.
Adjourn, I'll be your second.
One of these days, all my clients will do away with that process.
So, I need to talk to the small businesses a lot downtown.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him since.